The invitation to Dreamscape Gaming's launch event felt heavy in my hands, though it was just a simple piece of cardstock. Join us for the premiere of Starweaver, the most anticipated indie game of the year. Read the glossy text, followed by my sister Melissa's name as lead developer. My game, my story, my code. But her name. I glanced at my computer screen where the original version of Starweaver still lived. Thousands of lines of code written over 3 years, each one digitally signed with my trademark comment style. The space exploration game had been my passion project since college, something I'd worked on between freelance coding jobs and late-night debugging sessions. Melissa had always mocked my indie developer dreams. "Gaming is a big business, Kira," she'd say during our weekly family dinners. "You need corporate backing, marketing teams, professional networks. Your little hobby projects will never go anywhere." Then 3 months ago, everything changed. Melissa landed a job as project manager at Dreamscape Gaming, a mid-sized studio known for acquiring and scaling up indie games. She asked to see my latest project, claiming she wanted to provide professional feedback. I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? She was my sister. 2 weeks later, Dreamscape announced their newest acquisition, a space exploration game called Starweaver. Melissa's name was all over the press releases. When I confronted her, her response chilled me to the bone. "Prove it," she'd said with a smirk. "Prove you didn't just reverse engineer our development build." After all, who's going to believe the failed indie dev over a professional studio? She was right about one thing. I had failed to protect myself properly. While I had time-stamped code commits and digital signatures, I hadn't registered a formal copyright or filed for any patents. I'd been too focused on perfecting the game mechanics, too trusting of showing my work to family. But Melissa had made one crucial mistake. She didn't understand how I built my games. "Hey, you still moping about that space game?" My roommate and fellow developer Grace called from the doorway. "Because you really need to see this." She handed me her tablet, open to a gaming news site. The headline made my blood boil. "Dreamscape's Starweaver promises revolutionary AI system." I scanned the article, my hands shaking. They were promoting my most innovative feature, the adaptive AI that learned from player behavior to create unique story experiences. The system I'd spent a year perfecting, built on a framework that was distinctly mine. They couldn't have replicated it, Grace said, reading over my shoulder. "Your AI architecture is too unique. Too you." She was right. Every developer has their own style, their own way of structuring code. Mine was particularly distinctive. I developed my own framework for gaming AI, one that left very specific traces in the compiled code. "Look at this." I pulled up my original source code, pointing to the comment structure. "See these Doctor Who references in the function names? The pattern of nested conditionals? The way I handle exception cases?" Grace nodded. "Your coding signature. Like an artist's brushstrokes." "Exactly. And if Dreamscape is using my original code, then your signatures are still in there, even if they change the surface stuff." Grace grinned. "Want to do some digging?" For the next week, we became digital detectives. Grace, who worked at a cybersecurity firm, helped me document everything. We tracked down early playtesters who had seen my original version. We archived every email, every development log, every piece of evidence showing Starweaver was my creation. But our biggest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. "Kira?" An unfamiliar voice on my phone. "This is David Chen from Dreamscape's development team. We need to talk." The coffee shop was quiet when I met David the next day. He looked nervous, constantly checking over his shoulder as he pulled out his laptop. "I'm one of the developers assigned to Starweaver," he explained. "When we got the source code, something felt off. The architecture was too elegant, too coherent to be a new development. And these comments," he turned his screen to show me familiar lines of code. "My Doctor Who references," I said softly. He nodded. "I'm a fan too. Recognized the patterns. Started digging. Found this." He pulled up an error log from their development server. There, in a stack trace, was my digital signature, clear as day. In their rush to rebrand my game, they'd missed some of the deeper markers. "There's more," David said, lowering his voice. "Melissa, she's been taking credit for all the innovative features, claiming she developed the AI system. But none of us in the dev team have seen her write a single line of code. When we ask technical questions, she deflects. Because she can't explain how it works, I finished. She can demo the features, but she doesn't understand the underlying architecture. Exactly. Look, the launch event is in 2 days. Every gaming journalist in the city will be there. If someone were to demonstrate the original version, show the timestamped development history. I stared at him. You're suggesting I crash my sister's launch party? I'm suggesting you reclaim your work. He slid an access badge across the table. Your name should be on this game, Kira. The whole dev team knows it. We're ready to back you up. That night, I couldn't sleep. My screen glowed with evidence. My original code, development logs, playtest videos, all proving Starweaver was mine. But did I dare use it? Did I dare risk everything to expose my own sister's theft? My phone buzzed. A text from Melissa. Saw you got the launch invite. Don't bother coming. Wouldn't want you embarrassing yourself trying to explain how you actually created the game. Some of us are meant for success. Others, well, you can keep working on your little indie projects. Something snapped inside me. All those years of her dismissing my work, belittling my dreams, and now stealing my creation, it ended here. I called Grace. Remember that backdoor we found in the demo build? I asked. The one that lets you access debug mode? Yeah. How hard would it be to trigger that during a live presentation? She laughed. With the access codes David gave us, child's play. What are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time everyone saw who really wrote Starweaver's code, every single line of it. But what I didn't know then was that Melissa's theft went far deeper than just my game. What would unfold at that launch event would expose not just her lies about Starweaver, but a pattern of deception that would shake the entire gaming industry. Dreamscape's launch event was exactly as flashy as I'd expected. The converted warehouse space pulsed with ambient lighting that mimicked Starweaver's space effects, while demo stations around the perimeter let guests try limited previews of the game. My game. I stood in the shadows near the back, laptop ready in my bag, watching Melissa work the room. She was in her element, moving from one gaming journalist to another, dropping technical terms she didn't understand and taking credit for innovations she'd stolen. All set, Grace whispered through my earpiece. She and 3 members of Dreamscape's development team were positioned at different demo stations, ready to move when I gave the signal. Almost. I watched David Chen, our inside man, approach the stage where Melissa would soon give her presentation. He was supposedly checking the demo system, but really he was installing our backdoor access. Testing, testing, his voice came through my earpiece. Backdoor is ready. You'll have full access to the presentation system when you need it. I touched my ear. Everyone remember their parts. One by one, the dev team confirmed they were ready. We'd spent 2 days planning this, making sure every detail was perfect. Because this wasn't just about exposing Melissa's theft of Starweaver. We discovered something much bigger. The lights dimmed and Melissa took the stage to enthusiastic applause. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, her voice confident and smooth. Tonight, we're not just launching a game. We're revolutionizing the industry with breakthrough AI technology that will change how players experience interactive storytelling forever. I clicked a key on my laptop and Grace's voice came through my earpiece. Access confirmed. Ready when you are. Melissa launched into her rehearsed demonstration, showing off features I'd built, explaining concepts she didn't grasp. But when she reached the AI demonstration, I struck. The screen behind her flickered, and suddenly 2 windows appeared side by side. On the left, Starweaver's current code. On the right, my original source files, complete with timestamps and signatures. Melissa faltered mid-sentence as confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. Having some technical difficulties, I called out, walking toward the stage. Maybe I can help. After all, I wrote that code. Security, Melissa snapped, but David was faster. Let her speak, he said into his microphone, his voice carrying through the room's speakers. As lead programmer on this project, I think we all need to hear this. I reached the stage, connecting my laptop to the presentation system. Hello everyone. I'm Kira Anderson, the actual creator of Starweaver, and I can prove it. Over the next 10 minutes, I did exactly that. I showed the development history, the original playtests, the distinctive coding patterns that mark this as my work. With each revelation, Melissa's face grew paler. This is ridiculous, she tried to interject. She's my sister. Obviously, she had access to our development bills. Interesting theory, Grace called out from her station. Except I have evidence that Dreamscape's version of Starweaver was compiled directly from Kira's original source code. The timestamps prove it was copied, not recreated. One by one, the dev team members we'd recruited stood up, each presenting a piece of evidence. But the killing blow came from David. Ms. Anderson, he said formally, addressing Melissa, could you explain how the adaptive AI system works? Not the features, the actual technical implementation. Melissa's confident facade cracked. That's proprietary information. Actually, I cut in, pulling up the AI architecture documentation. It's quite simple. If you wrote it, you should be able to explain why there's a doctor who quote commenting every major function. Or why the exception handling system is built around Star Trek references. Or maybe you could explain this. I highlighted a specific section of code, one that contained a personal message I'd written to myself on the day Mom died, hidden in the game's core systems. Melissa stared at the screen, at the memorial message I'd embedded in my work, and something in her broke. Fine, she shouted. Yes, I took her game. But you don't understand, this isn't the first time. The room went dead silent. What do you mean, not the first time? One of the gaming journalists had their phone out, recording everything. Melissa laughed, a harsh sound. You think indie developers actually create all these innovative games? Half the acquisitions in this industry are stolen projects, rebranded with corporate polish. I just did it better than most. How many? David's voice was hard. How many games have you stolen? I had to. She was crying now, mascara running down her face. You know how hard it is for women in gaming? The only way to succeed is to be twice as aggressive, twice as ruthless. No, I cut her off. The only way to succeed is to be twice as good, to actually create something worthwhile. I turned to the crowd of journalists and industry professionals. Which is why I'm releasing Starweaver's source code. All of it. Let everyone see how the AI system really works. You can't. Melissa lunged for my laptop. The company owns? Actually, a new voice rang out. The company owns nothing. Marcus Way, Dreamscape's CEO, stepped forward from the crowd. Because we never signed any official acquisition papers for Starweaver. Did we, Melissa? She stopped, frozen. In fact, he continued, I spent the last 2 days reviewing all of our recent acquisitions after Mr. Chen brought some concerns to my attention. Would you like to explain why none of them have proper documentation, or why the supposed purchase payments were routed through offshore accounts? The next hour was chaos. Security escorted Melissa out as she screamed about betrayal and necessity. Gaming journalists bombarded me with questions about the AI system and my development process. Marcus Way offered me a legitimate contract to publish Starweaver under my own name, with full creative control. But the most surprising conversation came later, after the crowd had thinned. I never understood, Mom said, having arrived sometime during the revelations. All those years you tried to tell me about your work, and I always sided with Melissa because her success was more visible. It's okay, I started, but she held up her hand. No, it's not. I let myself be fooled by surface success instead of understanding real creation. Can you show me what you actually made? Help me understand. For the next hour, I walked her through Starweaver's systems, explaining in simple terms how the AI learned and adapted, how it made each player's story unique. To my surprise, she asked intelligent questions, genuinely trying to understand. It's beautiful, she said finally. Not just the game, the thought you put into it, the care for the player's experience. I'm so sorry I never saw it before. 1 year later, Starweaver launched under my own studio label. The innovative AI system revolutionized gaming narrative design just as I'd always believed it would. Melissa served 6 months for corporate fraud before being released to house arrest, while investigations into her other stolen acquisitions led to major industry changes in how indie games are acquired and credited. Yesterday, I received an email from her, the first contact since the launch event. I've been in therapy, she wrote, learning to face why I always needed to steal others' success instead of creating my own. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know, I've started learning to code, actually learning from the ground up. Maybe someday I'll create something real, something of my own. You showed me that's the only success worth having. I didn't respond, but I did something else. I checked her GitHub repository. There, in stumbling the honest attempts, were her first programming projects. Simple games, clumsily coded, but clearly her own work. Each one properly documented, honestly presented. Today, I'm launching a mentorship program for indie developers, focusing particularly on women in gaming. The first principle we teach isn't about coding or design. It's about integrity, about building success through creation rather than theft. My signature coding style, with its embedded quotes and personal touches, has become something of a legend in the industry. Young developers pepper their code with their own marks of identity, proud to show their work is genuinely theirs. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just proving your worth, it's changing the system that made theft seem like the only path to success. Sometimes exposing a lie isn't about punishment, but about making room for truth to grow. In the end, my sister stole my game but gave me something unexpected. A platform to change not just my own future, but the future of indie game development itself. Not bad for a failed indie dev with a hobby project. The new messaging system I'm developing still includes hidden Doctor Who references. Some signatures never change, they just become part of a bigger story.